Welcome to a Wednesday night in Philadelphia, one of the marquee matchups of the entire regular season. The two teams with the best records in the East square off for the third and final time in this regular season as we welcome you to NBA Courtside. Here at the Wells Fargo Center, Joel Embiid and the 76ers 37-17. They've been dominant at home. Want to keep that going. Ben Simmons talking so much about being Defensive Player of the Year. These two have been terrific when on the floor together. Meanwhile, for the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to miss some key guys tonight, but Kyrie Irving is back. He didn't play yesterday in the game in Minnesota, but back in the starting lineup to lead Brooklyn. As we look at the Eastern Conference standings with 18 games to go, they are deadlocked. Now, they have split their first two meetings, so the winner tonight would win a tiebreaker should they finish even at the end of the regular season. Of course, Milwaukee's still there hanging around, just 3 games back in the loss column. And good evening, everyone. With Doris Burke, Mike Breen on hand, Lisa Salters with us as well. This is such a great matchup featuring two teams that are championship contenders. But of course, for every championship contender, the key is health. And that hasn't always been the case for either of these two teams. Let's start with Philadelphia. They're healthy tonight, especially Joel Embiid. And when he's been healthy, Doris, he's been as dominant as any player in the league this year.
The numbers and the game are MVP caliber. There's no question about it.
And he's the subject of our golden moment presented by McDonald's.
So if you're Doc Rivers, you can deploy your 7-footer anywhere you want on the floor, Mike. So he's got that mid-range game, but he decides, I'm going to attack Boban Marjanovic because I can cross him over with outstanding footwork. I'm going to go over the outstretched arms of one of the tallest guys in the league, and the touch is there for Joel Embiid. So now, yes, this is an anomaly in this way. They post him up more than any player in the NBA, and the game is worthy. That's 7'5" Taco Fall, much improved for the Boston Celtics. Hand up, doesn't matter. And then, okay, you want to send an athletic Robert Williams at me? I can score against him. The numbers are eye-popping, Mike. Just a shade under 30 points per game. The 11 boards. He's blocking over a shot per game, and he's getting to the free throw line double digits. He has been an absolute monster. And his sidekick, Ben Simmons, is the guy Doc Rivers believes, because he can guard 1 through 5 as the Defensive Player of the Year. For me, Ben Simmons needs to get back to being aggressive as a driver.
Certainly helps when your two best players are elite defensive players. Meanwhile, looking at Brooklyn, no Kevin Durant. He's not going to play in his second game of back-to-back. He had 31 yesterday in the victory in Minnesota, and James Harden's still out with his hamstring injury. But Irving returns. Personal reasons why he didn't play yesterday. And it might be funny to say, but Irving's an all-NBA performer. He's won a championship, 6-time All-Star. But he may be playing his best basketball right now this season.
I think you can make that case because of the efficiency with which he's scoring. He's matching basically what he did as a scorer last season, just slightly above it. But it's the efficiency with which he's doing it. And you mentioned it, no James Harden, so now I can throttle up to the lead guard position, become a facilitator for Jeff Green. You want to put me off the ball and let me go one-on-one? Athleticism at the rim, the creativity. His game is majestic, Mike. He's an elite three-point shooter. How Steven Adams stayed on his feet there is somewhat remarkable. It's not just the productivity for Kyrie Irving, it's the multiple positions you can put him in, and look at the efficiency with which he's doing his work.
Well, he's missed 16 games as well, but in the last 21 games he's played, they're 18-3. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant had 31, as we mentioned yesterday, in the game against Minnesota, but will not play in the back-to-back. Of course, Durant and the Nets were scheduled to play that game on Monday, but the game was put off a day after that tragic fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Lisa Salters will have much more on that when we return here in Philadelphia when NBA Courtside continues.
NBA Courtside is presented by McDonald's.
Okay, so everybody knows the names. Everybody sees the scores. Everybody knows these Nets could be next, as in the next dominant team. Maybe the next dynasty.
Fade away.
Try guarding that.
Unstoppable.
But the Sixers are thinking about now, not next. The process is peaking. Their stars are aligning. Things are falling in place. The time is now for a little run by the team from Liberty Town.
A lot of stars on display tonight.
Layup is good. A three.
There's intensity at the top of the East. Brooklyn, Philadelphia.
That was a major throwdown.
That was insane.
And what is probably a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. Who's saying that? Everybody.
The Nets and the 76ers as we welcome you to an NBA Wednesday presented by State Farm. On a rainy Wednesday night in Philadelphia inside the Wells Fargo Center. Home of the 76ers as we take a look at tonight's starting lineups delivered by Taco Bell. And for Brooklyn, this is their 29th different starting lineup as Kyrie Irving returns, but no Durant, no Harden, so Landry Shamet, the former Sixer, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, and DeAndre Jordan back playing the last couple of games because the unavailability of LaMarcus Aldridge. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, they haven't had a lot of games this year where their predicted starting five will be intact, but this is it for Doc Rivers, and he's thrilled to have them. Again, a team that's 20-5 on their home floor this season. Boy, we are excited about this one. Two elite teams, Doris. Two teams that have the third best record in the NBA in addition to being the top teams in the East, and two teams that really feel that they can win an NBA championship this year.
Then obviously because of the absence of two of the big three for the Brooklyn Nets, you like the Philadelphia 76ers chances tonight. I would probably say the number one seed more significant to Philadelphia. We had a conversation with Daryl Morey earlier today. He thinks the number one seed's important, so the Sixers, plenty at stake here tonight.
Well, the first meeting between the two was back in January, and it was up in Brooklyn. And Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, none of them played. Yet Brooklyn won that game and won handily. Joe Harris had a huge game. Now, we've seen that from the Nets all season with their stars in and out of the lineup. Doris, they have one of the better supporting casts in the NBA. Their role players have been terrific.